Have you always wanted to work on your own guitars, but you were a little scared? Let me see if I can help you with that. Plus, maybe save you a little money along the way. Cue the music, Simone. BR and Music Corner. Yeah. I got intro music. Took me weeks to lay that track down, get it just the way I wanted it. Nice. Plus, I'm celebrating my 100th subscriber. Check that out. Take that, Stevie T. And I apologize. My dog is following me everywhere I go. Like, she will not, every I step this way, she's right there. Like, she is getting just in everything. Anyway, for years, I have been playing guitar a long time, but I was always afraid to work on my own guitars. I would change the strings. That's about it. Every time something was wrong to it, took it to the guy. And I started watching videos on YouTube and watching how people work on guitars and stuff. And I thought, I'm a fairly handy guy. I know how to use tools. I've built stuff. I've done some remodeling on my house. I think I can turn a wrench, and all that. So I started thinking about it. I said, I think I can do this. So I started making small adjustments to some of my guitars when I needed them to, and started building up my confidence to where I felt pretty confident doing a setup now myself. I really don't have to take it somewhere. And because the place I like to take my guitars to get them worked on, a setup is $65. And, not a ton of money, but it's money. And if you got a lot of guitars, it can add up. So, and plus the shop is 40 minutes away, one way. So I said, I'm going to do it myself. I got to start doing this. So anyway, I started doing my own setups, and I started feeling pretty good about it. And so I'm going to show you a couple of little tricks to do, a couple of little things you may want to do one day just to, build your confidence. And it started the other day, the idea for this video, because a couple of days ago, I was playing my beautiful Gibson Explorer. And I mean, this is one of my main guitars. When I go out and gig, typically this guitar goes with me. And I take a couple others as backups and whatnot, but I typically take this one with me. It's just an awesome guitar. It looks great, plays great, sounds great. I mean, look at this thing. That thing is cool. So anyway, I was playing on it, and I was hitting this high E power chord up here, and it sounded out of tune. And I retuned, do. Checked it. Sounded great. High power chord. It was out. It just, it sounded funky. I checked the harmonics on the 12th fret. They were all reading the right way. But when I sounded the note, when I fretted the note on the tuner, my A string and my G string were sharp. And I mean, they weren't just, if I'm looking at the tuner, that I'm going to be at 12 o'clock, it was kicked off pretty good. So, and I looked at the neck. The neck had a little bit more relief in it than I like. Relief meaning the neck is bowing this way. So, okay, let me check this out. So, I set it up, got my stuff out, and the first thing I wanted to do was address the neck problem. Because if you're going to adjust your intonation, you want to do everything else first. If you're going to adjust the neck, do that next. If you're going to adjust the bridge, do that. Do the intonation very last, because anything else you do here will affect or can affect the intonation. Doesn't always, but it can. So you want intonation to be the very last. So first thing I wanted to do was adjust the truss rod in this neck, because like I said, it was bending up a little bit more than I like. I like my necks pretty straight, almost flat. So if you look, you wonder what's a truss rod. If you're asking that question, you need to make sure you're very careful where you're doing this stuff. Watch a lot of videos where you do anything. But you got to think about it. Guitar is made out of wood, and wood expands, it contracts. The elements affect it. Heat, moisture, all humidity, all that good stuff. And we had recently, if you watch any of my recent videos, we had a hurricane down here a few weeks ago, and my house had no power for 6 days, which means my guitars had no air conditioning for 6 days. And so it's hot and humid down here. And so these guitars were not in their normal climate controlled environment. And I think that's what caused my problem. So I said, all right, let me adjust the truss rod first. So On a Gibson, you got a truss rod cover here. You take it off, and there's a nut in there that you adjust, which will tighten the truss rod or loosen the truss rod. Tightening the truss rod straightens the neck out. Loosening it allows it to relief. They call it relief when you allow it to bow in a little bit. So that's what that is. Some guitars have, instead of a nut that you tighten, there's an Allen wrench that you insert and you turn. It seems the typical size that I have found so far on my guitars that use an Allen wrench is a 4mm. I'm not saying they're all 4mm. I'm just saying mine are, or the ones I've dealt with that I've actually adjusted. So you might see a guitar like this. There's no truss rod cover. But right down here, this little notch, there's a wheel with a little hole in it. You can stick an Allen wrench in those holes and adjust the truss rod that way. If you push it over that way, it tightens it. If you pull it back this way, it loosens it. So those are just different types of truss rods you may come across. My acoustic, it uses it has a truss rod in here, and it's a Allen wrench that you insert up inside here and adjust it again whichever way you need to. So my neck was bowed up, so I needed to straighten it. Now to straighten it, I need to tighten it. If you're looking at the guitar the way I'm looking at it right now, to tighten it, you want to adjust the truss rod. You want to turn it back towards you. It's like they go by, if you're looking down the neck and you're looking at the nut or the Allen wrench, lefty's loosey, righty is tighty. It's, same. So, and anytime, please, if you're making adjustments to your truss rod, your bridge, anything, small adjustments will make a huge difference. So I got now Gibson, they sent me the wrench for this truss rod. And a lot of guitars you buy, they may come with an Allen wrench or something like that. That's typically going to be, if it's a bigger Allen wrench, it's going to be for your truss rod. So I put the wrench on. It's going straight up pretty much. I pulled it to me just a little bit, not even a full quarter turn, and maybe just a hair more. So I probably didn't even put a full quarter turn on this neck, just a little bit. Also, before you do that though, loosen the strings, because I'm tightening the neck, which means I'm pushing it back this way, but the strings are pulling it that way. I don't want to mess something else up, right, or break strings. So loosen them all first, tune them down, way low. Then do your adjustments. Like I said, don't ever go more than a quarter turn initially. Do a quarter, see where it goes. Tune it back up. I looked at it. Now the neck looks the way I'm used to seeing it. So I got it tuned up. I checked my intonation. Sometimes adjusting the neck can put the intonation back where it needs to be, but it didn't in this case. My A string and my G string were still sharp. So basically what I needed to do at that point was, since they're sharp, I need to lengthen the string. I need to lengthen the point from my fretted note to here. Because when you hit an open string, the string is vibrating from the saddle on your bridge to the nut. That's what you're hearing. If I hit the 5th fret here, sound goes higher, right? That's because I've shortened the string. Now the vibration is from the 5th fret to here. So since this was too high, I needed to make the point from here to here longer so it would be lower. So on a Gibson, on this type of tailpiece, there are screws in the back that adjust each saddle that the strings go over. And again, they're threaded. They're screws, babe. That's all they are, screws. And the saddle, it goes through the saddle. So when I screw the screw in, those threads pull the saddle back. So that's all I had to do. So I undid the string, got it nice and loose, lifted it up off the saddle. Again, about a quarter turn. Put it back on, tuned it up, checked it. Still a little sharp. Wasn't as sharp as it was. It came back considerably. So I loosened it, lifted off the saddle, gave it just a little bit of a turn, not even a quarter, just put it back on, turned it up. Boing! I'm back. I'm at 12 o'clock. That's where I want to be. Did the same thing with the G string. Action, everything looked good. And then now when I hit the high E, sounds like music. There's the top E, the heavy E, right? Blends like butter. So I was feeling pretty good about myself because I just fixed my guitar. It would have cost me $65 at the least to get this fixed. There's another shop down the road that will do it for $45, but either way, it didn't cost me anything, and it didn't take very long. So then I decided, you know what? I'm going to work on this other guitar, my beautiful ESP LTD. Now this is a nice guitar, and I do like playing it. The problem was, years ago when I bought this guitar, I had it set up for drop C. I wanted to have a guitar, because when I tried playing drop C songs on my other guitars, they just didn't want to, I mean, I could tune them down, but they didn't like it. They didn't want to stay. I was constantly having to retune. It was just a mess. So I had this guitar set up for drop C specifically for that. So drop C, you can also play D standard. It's the same, you know, just tune the top string. And I had 12 gauge strings on this guitar, so don't make fun of me. I thought it would be necessary to keep that nice low heavy end, and it would sound nice and heavy. The problem is when you're playing 12 gauge strings, you know, when you're playing just chords and stuff, it's fine. But when you try to start soloing and bending notes, which I do a lot of bending when I solo, those things are hard to bend. I mean, it's like it's like trying to play basketball with a medicine ball. So I thought I'm putting, and plus the other day, you know, if you look down my videos, you'll see where there's a dog. I bought the Digitech drop pedal, so I can take a guitar that's tuned in standard, and I can play drop C or D standard just by pushing a button. I don't have to tune my guitars that way anymore. So I thought I'm gonna get more use out of this guitar. I want it tuned to standard. I want 10 gauge strings back on it. So I loosened them down, cut those strings off, got them off there. And a first note of contention, anytime you take the strings off your guitar, clean it. There's a lot of places that are hard to clean on your guitar. I mean, you can wipe the body down all day long, the back of the neck, but the parts that the strings cover up, it's hard to clean under here. It's hard to clean in there. It's hard to clean your headstock. Clean it. Get all the gunk off of it. Take good care of your stuff. So I did that. And I have a Dunlop guitar polish just for that occasion. I also have Dunlop's fretboard conditioner, which is based on a lemon oil type product. One of the shops I go to, they do sell I think it's their own concoction. It's a beeswax, which is supposed to be really good. So anyway, I sprayed the stuff on the fretboard, let it soak in there, wiped it in, shine the frets up nice, got the frets all shiny and clean and all that good stuff, and I let that lemon oil get in that fretboard, because a fretboard, you don't want it to dry out, you don't want it to crack, you know, something like that's going to be hard to fix. It's probably going to be pretty costly. So take care of your fretboard. Anytime you change your strings, condition your fretboard. The stuff doesn't cost very much, and it takes a few minutes to do. It doesn't even take that long. But just take care of your stuff, you know, it's paramount. So anyway, did all that, put my 10 gauge strings on it, tuned it to standard instead of drop C. Now guess what problem I had? Remember, I had heavier strings on the guitar, tuned lower. Now I've got thinner strings, tuned higher. Well, apparently the heavier strings won out, because when I tuned it up and I started playing, every fret had fret buzz. I was buzzing all over this place. I mean, it was horrible. And I got down on my knees, eye level, and I looked at it, and I could tell my neck had the opposite problem that my Explorer had. It had back bow. Picture, you ever see somebody standing on a diving board and they haven't jumped in yet, and the ball, that's kind of what it looked like. I could just picture somebody standing out here on the end of my guitar. It was like, whoop. So when you got back bow, that means anytime you fret a note, you're going to be hitting other frets no matter what. So that means I need to loosen my truss rod. I need to take some tension off this neck. It's pulling too hard. So took the cover off. This just has a 1 screw Here, took it off. This one does use an Allen wrench. Again, it's a 4mm. And inserted it in. Again, minor adjustments. Don't ever start just cranking on your truss rod like you're jacking up a car. Again, quarter turn. Everything was sure as tuned. It didn't take much, about a quarter turn did it. And I let it kind of sit for a minute and see where because some of these changes are not going to be instantaneous, you know. It's not like, you know, you turn the truss rod, turn. It doesn't always, it's fast usually. You'll see the changes immediately, but over about 5 to 10 minutes, it could still be making some minor adjustments. So don't get all in a hurry and crank until, be patient. Give it 5 minutes. See what it does. So I said, and I was watching TV while I did it, you know, so I was in no big hurry. So anyway, made about a quarter turn. And then I looked at now the neck was back to being pretty straight again. In fact, had a little bit of that normal curvature you see sometimes. Not you know, deep, but you know, it looked right. It looked the way I'm used to seeing it. Again, almost perfectly straight. So then I started playing it. And the bottom four, the four strings, the E, the B, the G, and the D, they were fine. No problems. But the A string had a little bit of buzz in it. And the E string had quite a bit of buzz still. So I thought, okay, so now what I need to do, the neck's right. I need to adjust the bridge. I need to bring this bridge up only on this side because the bridge has adjustments on both sides, right? So I just need to adjust this this lower string end to bring that E string up just a hair and that A string. I don't need to mess with this one, just this one. Now this particular bridge you can adjust by, you can either undo these thumb screws down here, or you can use a screwdriver in the top, a flathead. So that's what I did. Again, small adjustments. I don't have to raise it all the way up, just enough to keep those frets from buzzing on these other frets when I play a note. That's all I need to do, just a hair. So if I'm looking at again, it's a flathead screwdriver, so it picture of a perfect circle. So let's say the screw slot was going straight up and down. I'm gonna turn it. I need to raise it. So I'm gonna lefty loosey this thing to raise it up. So I go from 12 o'clock over to 9 o'clock. Looked at my action, looks pretty good still. And now I don't know what you can hear, but the mic's right here, so you should be able to hear it. So anyway, I got no fret buzz anywhere. So now I've got a guitar that I can play a lot more, and it plays great. It's actually, the action on this guitar is just perfect. So I actually was able to, that's another $65 I just saved. And again, it took me less than half an hour to do it. I then did a setup on my Harley Benton, which I'm going to do a review of that guitar because I haven't played it in a long time, and so I'm going to break it out and do a video on it. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's basically just like this one, same design. Whoopsie. It's this bad boy right here. Anyway, this one was in need of a setup. It was the string height was too high. It needed a good scrubbing, just like I gave this one. Again, these are guitars I just don't play very often. So cleaned it up, restrung it. Again, this one, the neck, when I looked at it, I could tell the neck was bowed. So again, that one, I had to tighten the truss rod. I had to bring that truss rod this away. And it took a little more than a quarter turn to bring it back. Had to make slight adjustments on the bridge once I got it right, because I had a little bit of had to bring it up again just a hair, not even the quarter turn on both sides. And again, it plays great now. So those were just some simple modifications I was able to do. $65 times 3 plus tax would have been over $200 to do what I just did. And again, each guitar took me less than half an hour to do. And if I wasn't in a hurry, I was casually watching TV and stuff while I did it. I could have done it quicker, I'm sure. So Don't be afraid to work on your guitar. Just don't go crazy on that truss rod. Just quarter turn. I would say don't turn any screw or any, unless you're taking the screw out, like, you know, the truss rod cover, or you're trying to replace a jack, you're taking it. Yeah, you take those screws out. But any adjustments that will change how your guitar reacts, start off with quarter turns. That's it. And see what it does, because a little small little adjustments will make a big difference in your guitar. And you don't want to break that truss rod, because it can happen if you get crazy with it. You know, you can mess it up. So, but you're just doing little quarter turns, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. But anything you want to do, there's tons of videos on YouTube on how to do all this step by step, walk you through it. Watch some of those videos if you're a little nervous, and just take your time. Don't worry about it. If you went too far this way and the next, well, go back. You can always go back. If you raised your bridge too high, well, take it back down a little bit. It's not a big deal. Don't freak out. So anyway, that's about all I got for today. Again, don't be afraid to work on your own guitars. Save yourself a little bit of money along the way. Peace.